We're going to move on to our next guest, who's going to talk to us about onboarding and the do's and don'ts. So I'd like to welcome Miss Heather Rios.
Hi.
Let's see if we can get her up here.
Hey.
Almost. I hear her. There she is. Hi.
Hello. Hi. How are you?
What's going on,
I'm
Heather?
great. Thank you.
Good. I feel like I've tackled the world and it's only 8:30. So I'm like, yay.
You usually do. Just so everybody knows, Heather was a candidate of mine that I placed with a client of mine, and now she's my primary contact at that client. So we work together very heavily, and this woman starts working at like 5 a.m. How you were just saying you can't shut off, Trevor? Whoa. This woman is always on, and she's all over it. She's absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So let's start with tell us about your career evolution and what got you into HR.
Oh gosh, let's see. I didn't want to go into HR. I actually wanted to be a police officer. So
Really?
That's a hard life then.
I know, right?
That's
I
amazing.
did. I
That's
know.
a gift right there.
I know, right? I did start my career out going to Gavilan to get my AJ, and then decided after going on ride-alongs that it's probably not the career for me because I'm too sensitive. So anyway, I love people. I'm a people person. I love to meet new people. I love to help people. And so originally I got into my career in finance. So finance is where I started. And I actually started as a receptionist at a startup, believe it or not, and worked my way up into an ops manager and then went into financial, then HR. So HR kind of just evolved into that role.
Lap.
It did. And it was just more of a, hey, we're just going to go talk to Heather early on in my career because we trust her and we like talking to her. And then it just kind of, I was like, well, hey, maybe I should just go into HR. So then I started getting into HR, doing classes, doing school, all that good stuff, got my degrees, all of that. And then, took a break, went back into finance for about 4 years and missed it. I miss people. It can't be trying. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Wow.
It can get to a point where you feel like you're a glorified babysitter at times. But it is a very, very rewarding, very rewarding career for me. If I get a text message at the end of the night that somebody feels secure, safe, happy, and growth within themselves, that's all that matters to me.
Right.
So been doing this now for HR for about 15 years, in HR finance about 22 years now.
What are some of the changes you've been seeing with COVID?
Well, I was sharing with Catherine recently that it personally it's affected me, but business wise it really hasn't, and it's a good thing because we are a remote post. Essentially to begin with. So, and we have a really good reins on our employees. We use Slack to communicate. I have a really good relationship with all of my employees from all over the US to Brazil to the Ukraine. I just keep communicating with them. I make sure that they're safe. I make sure that they're taking the precautions that they need to keep themselves and their families safe at home. I've been going into the office to make sure that things have been taken care of. I had a cleaning crew come in a couple of times to wipe out the office. So when we're ready to go back in, we can, roll in. But I think that the most important thing is to eliminate fear. So especially with people that just started a company as well. So we had a few new hires that started, and being a startup, it's kind of like, are we going to have the funds in order to, keep going because of COVID? Right. And we did, because of our leader. He's amazing. And he really takes care of us and makes sure that, we're all taken care of and that we're all paid and we're all good and golden. And I really appreciate that. So I can trickle that down to my employees so they know that it comes from the top.
We talked a lot about
absolutely, and you're right. I mean,
what'd you say, Catherine?
Yes, we have, and I think we've hit on an accidental secondary topic. of eradicating fear
Right.
and getting rid of it, because it just doesn't help with anything. And you and I have been through quite a bit together professionally. Adjusting to COVID
short amount of time. Yes.
Yes, we have. And it's been really interesting. And one of the things that I really like that you implemented where you are, and you're talking about all the employee relations, right? And how you're helping them. You got this onboarding process to be amazing. People get all these welcome emails now. They feel very much a part of things. They have a profile that they give you that you send out to everyone so that everyone can meet them. You do the, you now you have the benefits package ready to go for them. There's the formal offer letters. Everything's running much better. So let's start with, why was that such a focus for you right off the bat?
So in my career, I've noticed that it's your first impression when you go into a company is HR. And I feel that HR is the one that makes or breaks your decision on if you're going to be joining a company. You can have the most horriblest interviews with the top executives in a company, and then talk to a person like myself and be like, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. And, that's what I pride myself in, is that I'm real, I'm honest, I'm open. I give my cell phone number out, and I say, if you have any questions, text me, feel free to call me, because ultimately you're interviewing us. So we need to make sure that it's a good fit for both parties. And I have it's a two-edged sword for me, because once I set that foundation, it'll eliminate problems for me down the road, right? Because I'm getting them on that path of, I'm going to set you up to succeed. Here's what I'm giving you to succeed. If you don't do it, that's on you. So that's my philosophy.
Right.
Is, I'm not your typical HR where I'm sorry, are you okay? It's just, it doesn't work in today's society. And I'm just not that type of person. I mean, I can't fake it, and I'm real with people. I can tell them, like, hey, we got to get our stuff together because things are, not working,
right.
Which is great. But also, that foundation, going back to that foundation is, because I work for a startup right now, currently, it's really important for us to have that, to where somebody who joins a company knows that A, we have our stuff together, B, we're going to set them up to succeed, and C, there's open and transparency throughout the whole entire company. And that's what I love.
100%.
Yeah, to make sure that employees feel open to come to me, as I'm not there to hire and fire people. I'm there to do a lot more than hire and fire. So, come to me.
We've got a really good question from the audience from another Heather Bowden. She says, do the employees accept that everything's okay at face value, or do you beef up your messaging on job security with some stats or other information, or maybe even a quote from leadership?
That's a good question. Thank you for asking that. Actually, no, I don't do stats. And here's the reason why. Stats lie. Everybody gives their stats, and they want everybody to be in a higher position. So, look at me, we're doing great. No.
What's that one thing? Was it 75% of all statistics were made up on the spot or something like that?
That's right.
Right.
That's right. It's like, it's so funny, because I do this in executive team meetings. Is I go, how do we feel today? Right? I mean, do we feel like we're going to give a little bit more than what we, So no, stats to me don't work. So what I do is I'm real with people. I'm in the same boat they are. I have two children in college that I'm paying for. I live in the Silicon Valley. I know, I get it. I worry every single day. My husband was out of work for a good 5 months, so I can relate with everybody. I'm not sitting on a gazillion dollars in my bank account. I'm real like everybody. I live paycheck to paycheck. So I can be real with them and say, listen, we're in this together. I can't guarantee that our jobs are safe. I can't guarantee that for myself anywhere we go. So if somebody tells you that, they're lying to you. I just want you to understand that we're going to end this together, and we're going to communicate with you every step of the way, and know that me as your HR representative, I'm going to do everything possible to make sure that we are all in alignment in our executive team, whether it be that the executive teams needed to take a pay cut, which has happened, you know, to get to where we need to be, where we can function fully and not have our employees be hit in any way.
I had an experience where, when I was in the auto industry, where our management lied to us about a pay cut, right? And they lied to us, and they made up some bogus story about why it was happening, just so they could save their, you know, their salary, right? And that really was it was like the catalyst that really, you know, made me leave. One of the biggest things that made me leave that industry was the fact that I was lied to, so that they could keep their wallet fat, right?
Right. And it's, you know, and I'm not going to say that companies don't do that. I mean, I'm going to be honest, and they do that. Will I be a part of that? Absolutely not. Will I put my hard-earned hours and my away from my family into a company that does that to employees? No, only because.
People need to be looking at how companies reacted to this COVID. How did they react? What did they do? Did they furlough people? Did they let people go? Did the executives get, you know, keep their a nice bonus, but everybody else got cut? And if I was a candidate, I would be asking some of these questions, like, what was your response? How did, and talk to the other employees too.
Yes.
Don't just you know, when you're interviewing, because they're going to tell you whatever, but talk to the employees at the company, even previous employees, maybe people that got let go.
That's really important. And so, you know, Catherine, to go back onto your onboarding process, and yes, I revamped that whole entire thing because I want them to be able to do everything in the comfort of their own home at their own time. Right. Everything's online. And then it goes back into, you know, us trying to make sure that we have, you know, everything all situated for them before they start, you know, going from, you know, a training process to onboarding, to a welcome note, to, you know, their review process. So it's really important for the leadership as well to be open and honest when we're hiring and when we have our employees. So that comes to another point that I'm going to talk about is it's really important for companies to have a monthly roundtable or check-in. So I implemented this. I actually just released it to the executive team. So I'm hoping that I get some good feedback and put together a roundtable meeting each month that everybody in the whole company, it's a mandatory meeting. It's a virtual meeting where our leader, Chase Harmer, will stand up in the beginning and he will go over all of our, you know, finances, where we're at, what we're looking at in the future, what we've brought in, deals that we've closed, you know, forecasting and all that good stuff. And then he's going to kind of exit. And then I'm going to have other people interact. We're going to have OLAs, which are objective learning things, you know, for people to understand what's happening in our industry so we can learn from each other. And then at the end, we're going to have birthdays and anniversaries just to engage everybody as well for that month. Right. So it's really important for companies to make sure that employees know exactly what's going on, especially in this time, what's going on financially, where we're at. Does that mean that I'm going to sit and tell everybody which executives took a pay cut? No. Am I going to tell them exactly what pay cut that was? No. You know, am I going to tell them that we lost some shares? No. You know, things like that. But that's my point. And the reason why we don't say that is because we don't want them to feel guilty. We don't want them to say, oh gosh, some people will take it, oh gosh, okay, they really do care. But some people will be like, you're making me feel guilty right now because we're going through this, you know. So we don't even say that. We just say we're taking the steps internally to make sure that we can function as a company. If that means that we have to look at leadership, then we look at leadership. And then we just leave it at that. And so, you know, and then
Yeah, I like that.
I think that it's important. Yeah. You have to have that kind of you have to have that interaction with your employees. You have to have that relationship, especially in a remote environment. Especially in a remote environment, and especially with a startup company, you absolutely 100% have to have that. It's imperative. And even back to the onboarding process, we keep kind of getting off of that. That's what I want to ask you about. So no, you're good. There's so much interesting to talk about right now, especially from an HR perspective. So you're going through all this and you're being transparent with these people. What are you seeing that's because this is where we have had some difference is on the candidate side, right?
Mm-hmm. So
what are you seeing that's different on the candidate side during COVID?
Again, scared. I mean, everybody's really, they're eager to find a company. They get worried, especially with a startup. So, if we're financially stable enough for us to be bringing people on. And I usually, right now, because of this time, I usually have an hour that, as you know, Catherine, that I meet with my candidates before I throw them to the wolves, as I say to the executives. But but I usually prep them first for an hour. So right now I'm doing an hour and a half to 2 sometimes. And I walk through, everything with them. I walk through our pipeline. I walk through legally what I can share with them without them signing an NDA. I walk them through, having our onboarding process so that they understand that we're here to see them succeed. Once they're okay financially, when I get that financial platform across to them, I can see their guard kind of drop, and then they're like, okay, tell me a little bit more. Yeah. And, it's very, Catherine, you recruited me. I took a huge pay cut to come here. I wanted to be a part of something in a startup, and I use myself as an example. I've only been here 11 months, and I took about a $30,000 pay cut to come to Pay Certify, and now I'm actually making about $40,000 more than I did at my other company, and I've only been here 11 months. So
that's what I was saying earlier. You got to go down. You got to go, down to move forward. Sometimes
that's right.
It's okay.
That's right.
That's
tenacity.
Right.
They're not willing to do that, and that's what that's what blows my mind. They would rather stay in the same dead end job than take a little bit of a sacrifice to move forward and actually be fulfilled and have great things happen in their life, and that blows my mind.
That is 100% what I wanted to address next. And actually, Heather and I have seen this so many times together, and we're both always just mind blown by it. And this is something I want to address. When you are a candidate going through the hire process and all that, first of all, know what's important to you and what you must have versus what would just be kind of nice and fluffy. So I always tell people whenever I discuss salary, there's your number that you absolutely have to have just to pay your bills and feed yourself, right? And that doesn't mean going out. That doesn't mean any of that. That's just what you have to survive.
Right.
Then there's all the fluffy stuff, right? That just be warm and fuzzy. So first of all, know those 2 numbers and know what you need to be able to go forward in terms of benefits and everything else, because it's ridiculous to get all the way through a process and then at the very, very end go, oh, never mind, I'm not going to take this job because of this. The other thing is, I'm seeing a big, even more so, this is always an issue, but even more so right now with COVID, people afraid to take that risk, right? They're afraid to go, let me take a little bit less so that I can get more. And that's let me tell you folks, it's never going to work in the long run.
No.
And listen to Heather's story. She took a significant hit.
Look, the market's changed. What somebody got paid pre-COVID and what they're going to get paid after COVID, it's going to be 2 different things, because guess what? It all boils down to supply and demand. And look, the supply is high right now. We got, I think, 40 million people was the last report, 40 million people unemployed. Guys, supply and demand. So I would not go into this expecting to make the same amount of money. And I hate saying that. I wish those words weren't leaving my mouth, but it's
so true.
It is.
You're going to make more and everything's going to be great. But I think it's supply and demand, and the supply is extremely high right now.
It is. And I feel for people that, it's easy for us, especially myself, to say to somebody, take a pay cut. You'll be rewarded at the end. I'm in a different situation. I'm in a different, area in my life. My girls are grown. They're graduating high school. They're going into college. Yes, we're looking at that, but I don't have babies at home. I don't have that where I'm like, I'm on a different phase in my life where it was just easier for me to say to my husband, it's time for me to make a change. I want to be a part of something bigger. I don't want to be pushing paper all day.
Right.
I want to go to bed at night and go, my goodness, I completely rocked today. I think I've had some other choice words to Catherine via text, but it's like
another great question. Another great question from the audience. Jeffrey says, before the pandemic, if I applied for a job and didn't hear back in a week or a month, I assumed I didn't get a chance to interview for that position. Does this still hold true?
No.
What are your thoughts?
No. So
Absolutely not.
No. So here's the thing. If somebody has held you off that long, there's a problem with the company. So you're going to have to, I mean, I would continue to ask them where I'm at. But if somebody holds you off for a month and doesn't give you any indication of where your candidacy lies or where they're at in their interview process, I don't know. I mean, I'm so used to smaller companies. Bigger companies take a little longer, to be honest. But I mean, Catherine, a month. I mean, that's pretty.
Here's what I would say. In general, your advice is spot on, except that big company, really, really big companies. When I say big, I mean like the megas. Like you're talking like Citibank or something like that. You know, if you're that big, it may actually take that long. But I will tell you, in general, you're right. However, with the pandemic, this is one thing that a lot of people forgot. I had people going, "Oh, my recruiter ghosted me. HR ghosted me. I haven't heard back." Guess who was furloughed also?
Right.
HR.
That's true. That's true.
HR has been at home the last 2 months too, guys. So I know it's super frustrating. I know it stinks. And Jeffrey, you're spot on with how you think. And great question, by the way. Loved it.
Yes, thank you.
But right now, give HR a chance to catch up. Okay, even though most of them are probably back by now, or they will be back soon. Give them a few weeks to get back into it, because man, even a day out when HR can set you back, I mean, really far. And so to be out for 2 months, and now you've got to go back and go through all these applications, not to mention that now companies are going to reassess what each position needs and all that. You're going to have 50,000, and Heather and I have been through this too, 50,000 job description changes and all of that they're going to have to adjust to. So be patient. Empathy.
Empathy and patience. You got to have patience, and empathy. You got to put yourself in their shoes and figure out what's actually happening in their company. And that's a great question. And I
would definitely say to your question too is just keep being persistent. I mean, I love getting emails from candidates, because to me that shows me that you really want a chance to join a company with us. So, and also don't just put all your eggs in one basket. You know, get out there. Put your name out there.
No kidding.
Don't wait for one recruiter, one HR person at a company. Just, flood yourself. Get on LinkedIn. Get as many interviews. I love interviews. To me, Catherine laughed at me because I love them, because, like I said, I'm interviewing you because I want to make sure that I'm going to put 8 hours of my life, or more than 8 hours, away from my family into your company. Right. So it's really important for candidates to have that mindset as well, is when you're coming in, yes, you're scared. Yes, you want the job. And yes, you're excited. And you're like, yes, I could get this job. And I'm really excited. But have a poker face.
Yeah.
Know your worth and go in there. Yeah. Go in there and just be like, this is where I want to be. And one of my questions, going back to the onboarding, one of my questions when I recruit people is, people say, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Okay. I ask them, in your dream job, you tell me what you would like to see. So you tell me the type of person, manager you'd like to see, the type of structure you would like to see, and the type of rollout for a bonus plan or anything like that for yourself. I'm just talking about yourself. I want to see where their mindset is in the type of company that they're looking for. And then I can focus on, my culture talk and about the company. But it's really good because as an HR person, I can then go to my executive team or the CTO, whomever I'm interviewing for, and say, here's the reason why I want you to talk to this person. Because when I asked these questions, they gave me these answers. So
it's 100%.
So it's really important for people that are out there looking for a job. Don't give up. We're in a really hard time right now. I know. Just keep pushing, keep putting your resumes out there, get in contact with people such as Catherine, great recruiters that will be on your side. If you want to find me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to help you with any questions that you have. Look at your resumes, give you guys any, insight on interviews. just as an HR person, that's a real people person, just be yourself, because HR and recruiters can see right through it. And so, we've been doing this for so long, and I'd rather have somebody just be themselves with me than try to be something different. And I'm like, I don't know if I liked that person. I probably would have liked the other person better.
It's so true. Be genuine, show who you really are, because it's going to come out anyway. So just show, and I don't mean, okay, look, you don't need to talk about your religion. You don't need to talk about your kids. You don't need to, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about who you are in your core, your values, what you bring to the table.
And what you're looking for. Yeah.
Yes, and what you're looking for, and be very clear about that. Don't you're looking for one thing and then come back with something else. That happens all the time with candidates. Have a clear message as to what it is that you're looking for and go with that. Right. Kind of the last thing I wanted to bring up with you, Heather, because it's something that I feel you know quite a bit about, is on the candidate side, when they're coming into an organization and everything is growing, and in a startup, this is especially true, and everything is changing, right? Constantly, right? And especially merchant services. We both know what a brutal industry that is. How do you, or what do you recommend to people? What would you tell them going into that type of environment as to how to mentally prepare and to how to go with it on a daily basis?
When they're interviewing, is that what you're talking about? I'm sorry.
Yes. No, when they're as they come into a job and they're onboarding.
Oh, when they're onboarding. Actually, I just had a pep talk with somebody 2 days ago. On actually Friday. Sorry. We just hired somebody, and it's really important for me to build that relationship with our new hires as well, so that they can come back to me for anything that's needed. So what I do is I take about an hour when they start. I go over everything that they've already done previous with HR. We're on a PEO, so I walk them through our Insperity portal. I go through what I call a who's who in the zoo, which is our org chart, and kind of put a face to a name as well, so they know who to go to. I then go over our directory, and how to get to know people, go over all of our IT stuff. But I think it's also important too, is that I take that time to listen to them. And I tell them to make sure that they ask questions. No questions are stupid questions. Don't ever feel that we're going to feel like, oh, you don't get it, really? Because if you don't ask and you do something totally different, it's going to be a different situation. So because we're a startup, 100%. Because we're going, full force speed, 100 million miles an hour, it's just best I'm very open and honest. Just ask. Just come to me. If you feel that you're embarrassed and you don't want to ask your manager, come to me. I have a way to go to your manager and be like, hey, I was on that call and I completely forgot what you said. Can you reiterate so I can write it down? And they're like, yeah, Heather, that's fine. And then I'll go back to the employee and go, this is what they're looking for. Next time, ask questions. So I think,
and 100%. So ask questions. Bring it, be honest and use questions and use knowledge and grow with the company, work with everybody else. We have another HR, or not HR, but recruiting person coming on right after this. Great. Richard, he's coming on right now. He's going to talk to us a little bit about how to specifically reach out to people like you and I, Heather, and how to connect to them right now. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise. I know more than most people how very, very busy you are. So
that's okay. No problem. Thank you so very much. You're welcome. Good luck. And if I can help with anything, let me know.
Absolutely.
Bye.
And
bye-bye.
Hi, Heather.